you ever wonder about the lives of some of the great country music legends? Beyond what you saw on the stage, what kind of person was Farron Young? Roger Miller, Tammy Wynette, and others. Well, who better to tell you the real story than the children of the country music legends? Those who grew up in the shadow of country legends like George Jones, Marty Robbins, and Conway Twitty. Well, that's who we have on this special edition of Country's Family Reunion we're calling Second Generations. We've also invited some of the country legends you know to add their stories and songs as we celebrate 2 generations of country. So get ready for some stories you've never heard and some songs sung so well by their kids, you'll swear the legends were in the room. This is Country's Family Reunion, Second Generations.
There's only one thing I don't understand. We're all kind of singing songs to do with the people, the fathers and mothers and various people that are...
Am I on?
Oh, yeah, you're always on. Why are you singing? I want to know why you picked out this particular song to sing. I'm glad you did, but I don't understand why.
Well, you get paid more.
You ain't going to want half of it like Farron did, are you?
No, this is my favorite song. I think it's the best song that Bill Anderson ever wrote.
Oh, bless your heart. Well, it takes on a whole new life when you sing it.
If I can hit the high spots with these car strippers back here, I'll be happy to sing. Okay, guys. I wish they would put a stool out here that wasn't slick. Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
I love the way that she sits all on one side.
I reached out my arms and I touched you. With soft words I whispered your name. I held your love on the tips of my fingers, but that was as close as I came. My eyes held a vision of sweet lips, yielding beneath my command. I held you right on the tips of my fingers, but I let it slip right through my hands. But I let it slip right through my hands. Somebody took you while I wasn't looking, and I should have known from the start that it's a long, long way from the tips of my fingers to the love hidden deep in your heart, to the love hidden deep in your heart. Or somebody took you while I wasn't looking, and I should have known from the start that it's a long, long way from the tips of my fingers to the love hidden deep in your heart, to the love hidden deep in your heart. appreciate it. God bless y'all. Thank you. I can actually sing better than that. I've been sitting over there at the side, and I'm froze to death. They got cold enough to hang meat in here.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I know from having tried a few times, that is not an easy song to sing when you're standing up, and I don't see how anybody sings it sitting
I've
down.
got to tell you about our next door neighbor. She's 87 years old. Really, she still drives. I went downtown with her the other day, and she has a permit to carry a gun.
87 years old?
Yeah, and she was driving really good, and I was sitting there, you know. She got stopped by a cop, and the cop saw on her license where she was, you know, armed and dangerous. He said, "You got a gun?" She said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Where's it at?" She said, "A 45 over there in the glove compartment of the car." He said, "Really?" He said, "You got another one?" She said, "Yeah, right here in the console. I got a Derringer." He said, "You got any more?" She said, "Yeah, I got a 9mm under my front seat." He said, "Good Lord, lady, what are you afraid of?" She said, "Not one thing."
Christy Woolley has been back here beautifying our set and saying extremely little. The daughter of our friend Sheb Woolley and Ben Calder. Sheb was on some of the family reunions with us.
Yeah, he was.
And we miss him, as I'm sure you do.
I do very much.
He was he was known for so many different things. I was thinking earlier today, he was in two of the biggest movies, I guess, that were ever made. He was in High Noon and in Hoosiers.
Giant.
Oh, I didn't realize that. He was
Brock
in three
Hudson
of the
and
biggest
Elizabeth
movies.
Taylor and James Dean.
The Outlaw Josie Wales.
Outlaw Josie Wales?
He did.
That's what I said. He's in a whole bunch of movies.
Well, you know how Dad used to have him introduce himself to people? You remember in Outlaw Josie Wales, he was one of those people who got buried up to the... Dad used to, when he'd introduce him, he'd say, "Yeah, he was in Outlaw Josie Wales." He said, "Show him, Sheb." And Sheb would go...
Shep told me a story one time when he made High Noon. Stanley Kramer, I think, produced that big movie. And he, if you remember, he broke in a window. He saw this lady's hat or something in this window. His part was to break, you know, he was one of the outlaws, to break the window and get the hat, put it on his belt. And he said he didn't know whether he was supposed to break the window then or wait and rehearse it. And he told me this story. He said, and they said, "Roll, cameras roll, go." Gary Cooper and all of them standing out there. And Sheb walks up and he says, "I guess I'm supposed to break it." Crash. Kramer yelled out, "Take a break, we got to put a new window in."
Just supposed to have been a rehearsal.
It was supposed to have been a sort of a rehearsal before. But what a great man. He worked at Elk City, Oklahoma. That's where I first heard of him. Formed his band out there in the Oklahoma
The
Panhandle.
Calumet Indians. That was the band that he...
Calumet
Indians. The Calumet baking powder.
Yeah.
So
Were you
that's-
born and raised in California?
I
he out there
was. I
then?
was born in Bakersfield, and so I kind of grew up knowing Buck Owens and Merle Haggard and that crew.
Yeah.
And the Cash family.
One of the things your dad did, as Ben Calder portrayed, it was kind of like he wasn't an alcoholic, he was a drunk. Ben Calder
He was an
kind
alcoholic. He was an alcoholic.
No, I mean Ben Calder, the character that your dad created, and he would walk. I mean, he was very funny when he would go into that character.
Well, he had a huge hit on his dad's song.
Her dad,
Hello,
my dad
Walls.
did the same song, Hello Walls.
Yeah.
Dad did it, then her dad did the drunk version, but on nights, my dad.
And I think he wanted to
Several
do one
times.
of Charlie Pride's songs, but Charlie said, "You're not going to ruin my song." So,
Well, he did my song. You know, he did
almost
Still.
oh, that's right.
Oh, it's one of the greatest.
Oh
Did y'all
my
ever hear Ben
gosh.
Calder's
Oh, yeah.
record of Still,
Wonderful,
where he
yeah.
did the part about this flame? Give somebody. He said, "This flame in my heart is like an eternal fire. For every day it burns hotter, and every day it burns higher. And if this flame burns any hotter or any higher, you'll come home and find that I've made an ash of myself. I used to love that. He was afraid it would offend me, but it didn't at all. I took it as a great compliment.
He loved you very much.
Well, we loved him a whole
Bill?
lot.
And he loved this lady so much,
Can I
too.
say about the duets? He wrote, "You're the reason God made Okies homely."
He did one of my dad's too, 15 beers ago.
Oh, God, yes, he did do that. That's right.
He did Almost
He ruined
Persuaded.
a lot of songs.
He did Almost Persuaded, too.
Did what?
he did.
Almost Persuaded.
Almost
yeah.
Persuaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a great version of that. But of course, as Sheb Woolley, he had a lot of hits. I mean, The Purple People Eater was a monster, and That's My Paw, and some of those songs. Now, you write songs. I know you sing.
I used to write a little bit, but, you know, as I was telling you earlier when we had some private time to chat, I had a career in music in the early 80s. And that's where I got to know these beautiful backup singers right here. So, and we had a job on Nashville Now, and I worked with Ralph Emery in the early morning show, and I had a really great band at one time that consisted of Paul Franklin and Brent Mason and Rob Haychekas. So, yeah.
Whatever happened to them?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about them.
Oh, wow. How about a song from you?
Sure, I'd love to.
I don't know, can you come down through this one? Yeah. Mr. Woolley.
I have to say, when I was trying to decide what to sing, and you're supposed to sing something your father wrote, that was kind of difficult because, you know, Purple People Eater, I can't really do that. I couldn't really do Ben Colder. So this is a song that my father wrote when I was a little girl as the first song that I ever recorded live. And it shows a whole nother side of him as a country music writer. It's called Only for You. Only for you is the reason I'm living, wanting you near when the long day is through, watching the tides while I'm counting my blessings, living my life only for you. Each beat of my heart tells how much I love you. And if we ever part, my life would be through. But until that day, when my heart stops beating, I'll live my life only for you. Each beat of my heart tells how much I love you. And if we ever part, my life would be through. But until that day, when my heart stops beating, I'll
have you not sung today, Jenny Seeley?
Well, we've been saving for a special occasion. I'm going to do a duet today with somebody who means the world to me, and that's Shelly West.
Well, you and Shelly's mama were very close friends, you and Dottie West.
Yeah.
Come on down, Shelly.
We were. I have to tell you that Dottie always called her my Shelly. And you know, as most mothers with their friends do, I'll embarrass Shelly by telling, but she'd call and she'd say, "Oh, Jeannie, you got to see my Shelly now." Or she'd call and she'd say, "It just doesn't seem like I've been gone on this tour that long, but I came home and, oh, my Shelly's growing up." And she just...
And then later on it was, "Oh, Jeannie.
Oh,
Wait,
Jeannie,
what has Shelly done?"
My Shelly's No.
What do you remember? Your mama was so gracious and so great about, she'd take in every stray that was around. I'm not calling you a stray,
Well, she
but...
did, yeah.
No, I mean, she was famous for having songwriters come over, Roger and Larry Gatlin and Mickey Newberry and all these people would. What was it like growing up in that kind of an atmosphere? You never knew who was going to walk in your door, did you?
I didn't. That's what I was thinking, talking about when we were little and what was, special and what people thought. And I mean, I remember like when it was Halloween night and I had been down to the YMCA at a Halloween party. I was about 7 years old, 6 or 7. And I know, and Mom and Dad had a big party, of course, downstairs in that music room with all the black carpet that we had to take turns vacuuming. It was awful. And it had a built-in stage. And I mean, this was a long time ago. And Bill, you might have been there. And Christopherson and Ralph Emery. Anyway, but I remember I got picked up from the party and brought home and I go in the back door and there's all these musicians and everybody's partying there. I am in my bunny suit, a little bunny suit, but it was fun because what I loved about them best is they were funny, so clever, and just like today, I feel like so many of you guys are so witty, and I just enjoy it. And
You're the only one in your family, though, that got into the music business, aren't you? I know you've got some brothers and sisters.
I do. My 2 older brothers, Mo, the boys, electronics runs on their side. So Mo was a guitar player. He had a rock group, and he ended up designing guitar effects units. And a lot of the musicians, some of these guys might own some of his equipment. And then Kerry, the next brother, he's been Ronnie Millsap's house sound engineer. He also plays guitar and stuff, but he's been out with Ronnie Millsap for 17 years now. And little Dale, he plays drums, but he has a day job, but,
Well, I said sisters, you got 3 brothers.
Yeah. Mo, we lost Mo a year and a half ago, but growing up, we had, there was rock music downstairs, country music upstairs, and so, I feel like, just in listening to everybody and watching them, I see their parent or parents in them, just like I feel when I sing one of Mom's songs. Sometimes I feel like I'm hearing her voice. It's almost weird, But when you think about it, well, what I feel is I'm a sum of all the parts of all the, like I listened to Emmylou Harris and Tammy Wynette and just all, and I feel like Mom's in there too, just a little bit more hereditary-wise, too. But
What made Dottie so special as a friend?
Dottie was so caring and loving and giving and understanding. She and I were the kind that talked at 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody else had gone to bed. You could tell everything, too. And she was a mentor to me. I met her when I was living in L.A. still, and she came out to appear at the old Palomino Club. And, of course, I was out there. And afterward, we all came back to my house to pick and sing and tell stories like we always do. But she was the one, of course, who kept encouraging me to move to Nashville, as she did so many. And she's one of the first ones to record one of my songs, too.
Which was?
It Just Takes Practice to Forget. And she introduced me to so many people. And when I said, Dottie, I don't know enough to move to Nashville yet, and she said, Nashville's where you learn. You got to learn. You got to move there. You never will. No, and she was so right.
So she was one of the big reasons that you
Oh
moved
yeah,
to Nashville.
very.
She inspired so many people, especially writers. She was a great friend of songwriters.
She brought Larry Gatlin to town, which a lot of people know. He talks about it, and they lived at our house for several months. A lot of times the wives, and I don't know if y'all had the same experience, but a lot of times the band members' wives or girlfriends became your nanny or your temporary nanny, you know, and they were great ones too, usually, you know. But so Janice, I think she took care of us for a little while, and then Steve Warner was on the road at the same time, so I got to travel with him when he started out as the bass player. No, Larry was the bass player, but he wasn't very good, so.
Don't tell him you said that.
I won't. He wouldn't take that well, would he? No, I'm
So
kidding.
Steve Warner was in your mama's band, and he was
Right.
in your dad's band.
That's right, because I was on the road with her at the same time Steve was, back when he was Steve Noel, when he started out.
Stephen Noel.
Oh, that's right. He was his middle name.
Stephen Noel.
You're going to do a duet, one of your mama's songs?
Let's do. It's called Paper Mansions.
All right.
All right.
Shelly West and Jeannie Seeley.
Thank you, Bill. Now let's see. David Frizzell and I think I stand on this side. Would that be okay?
I didn't tie my belt, but
Would you like to? I'll
that's
cover
okay.
for you.
No, maybe I can hit
Okay.
the notes better if I don't.
Don't build for me, no paper mansions. I can never call my own, for love can't live in paper mansions that only stand until you're gone. You paint the nicest futures of anyone I know. You always keep me holding on to pretty words that glow. You built 1,000 mansions out of dreams that seem so strong, but they're only made of paper, not of stone. Don't build for me, no paper mansions that I can never call my own. For love can't live in paper mansions that only stand until you're gone. You've always been a dreamer. Well, I'm a dreamer too. I guess I've had too many of the kind that don't come true. So don't build me no mansions out of paper walls so thin that they only stand until you leave again. Don't build for me no paper
Phil Campbell, your daddy brightened up so many corners where he was throughout his life, the great Archie Campbell. And I know you have got a version of one of his. What do they call these songs where they get the is it spoonerisms? Is that what they are?
Well, it's called a spoonerism. It was developed the last century, or the century before last, at Oxford University by a professor named Spooner, who was a very boring lecturer. But one day he had a slip of the tongue and did a spoonerism. He became one of the most popular lecturers on the campus because everybody was waiting for one of his spoonerisms. And that's
he
where it all
started doing
came
them on
from.
purpose, I guess.
Yeah, he did them on
started
purpose.
laughing.
He planned them in his lectures.
Yeah. Well, your dad was the master at them. I don't know how he remembered them, and I don't know how you remember how to do them either, but I wish you'd come down here and
okay.
lay a little spoonerism or two on us. Yeah, Phil Campbell, Archie Campbell. So,
I think my tape failed.
I should have had your back.
Jim Ed will help you put it in your back pocket.
No, I won't.
I hope not.
That's
Only
funny
ladies.
you were willing to help Joey with Joey and
yeah.
Lori yesterday.
How
Well,
does
there's
this
a whole
work?
big difference.
We'll just put it like a holster, all right?
There you go.
Well, this all started many years ago. Oh, okay.
This all started many years ago when my dad came into the bedroom one night to tell me a bedtime story. Brought a book called The Three Bears. I said, come on, Dad, don't give me that bear jazz. So he decided he'd tell me another story. In spoonerisms, that's where you take the first part of one word, exchange it with the first part of the next word, and sometimes it comes out a little bit funny. So he told me the story of Cinderella. Do you remember the story of Cinderella, don't you? Yeah. Where she lived with her ugly stepmother and she had two bad stepsisters, and they all got invited to the fancy ball with a handsome prince. But Cinderella couldn't go because all she had to wear was some old dirty clothes. And you know, she didn't have anything to wear until her fairy godmother came along. And I guess it was fairy godmother? Yeah, that's who it was. Changes in the story. But she fixed her up with everything. She went and fell in love with the handsome prince, but as she was leaving in a hurry, she dropped her slipper. Well, this is the way my dad used to tell the story to me, and I'll tell it to you the same way, only it's not Cinderella, it's Rendersella. Now, a long time ago, in a corn country, there lived a beautiful girl, and her name was Rendersella. Rendersella lived with her mugly other and two sad blisters. Also in this same corn country, there was a very pransome hince. And this pransome hince was going to give a bancy fall. So he invited the people for riles amount, especially the pitch reaple. He was stancing, he wasn't hooping. So Rendersella's mugly other and her two sad blisters went to the mallwart to write some drancy fesses to wear to this bancy fall. But Rendersella couldn't go because all she had to wear was some old ruddy dags from the Thran Stiff blower. Finally, the night of the bancy fall arrived, Rendersella couldn't go, so she just cat down and sride. And she was kitting there srine when all of a sudden there was a smuff of poke. And there stood her Gary Mudfather. And he touched her with his wagic mand, which is illegal in 17 states. And there appeared before her a kick, boach, and Hicks white sources to take her to the bancy fall. But he said, now, Rendersella, you be sure and be home before midnight or I'll pump you into a turnkin. Well, when Rendersella arrived at the bancy fall, the pransome hince met her at the door because he had been watching from behind a wooden hind and he thought she was the greediest pearl in the place. So Rendersella and the pransome hince danced all night. And they lell in fove. Then all of a sudden the mid-clock struck night. Rendersella staced down the rares, and just as she beached the rottum, she slopped her dripper. You know what that's like, don't you, Bill? So the next day, this pransome hince went all over this corn country looking for the beautiful girl who had slopped her dripper. Finally, he came to Rendersella's house. Well, he tried it on her mugly other, and it fit and did. Then he tried it on her two sigly esters, and it fit and did. Then he tried it on Rendersella, and it fit did. It was exactly the sight rise. So they were married and lived heavily after hapwards. But the story of the story is this. If you ever go to a bancy fall and you want to have a pransome hince all in fove with you, don't forget to slop your dripper.
Dean Smith's here. Dean is the son of the great Carl Smith and Goldie Hill Smith. Dean, we are glad to have you here for the very first time at Country's Family Reunion.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
I think you look a little bit like both your parents, a little bit like your dad,
Well,
a
it
little bit
depends
like
on
your
who you're
mom.
talking to. If you're talking to a man, I look like my dad. If you're talking to a woman, I look like my mama.
Really? Is that the way it goes?
That's the way it works.
Yeah. Your dad was a pretty tall guy. How tall was he?
He was 6'2".
And you are?
6 foot.
Yeah. He, I guess maybe he always looked taller because so many times you'd see him in the hat and the boots. And
Well, that, and he was as thin as a beanpole. That made him look so much taller because he wasn't that big around.
He told me one time that he didn't really come to Nashville to be like a star and to tour and make records. He said he came here because he wanted to sing on the radio.
That was it. That was true. Yeah, he, matter of fact, he made the statement at the medallion ceremony that when he was a kid, there was 2 things he wanted to be in life. Was a hillbilly singer and a cowboy. And he got to be both.
He sure did, didn't he?
Yep.
You still hear an awful lot of Carl Smith's records on, I know on satellite radio, Bill, you hear an awful lot of Carl's music. You hear a lot of Goldie's music, a lot of your mom's music. And they both added so much to our business, even though your dad, when he decided to quit, he quit.
Yeah, he did.
As you said. Now, what year did he actually hang it up?
Well, that's hard to tell. I'd say probably in the late 70s is when he quit touring extensively. And then he did a few shows here and there in the 80s. But I don't think he did anything much later or much in the 90s at all. So I'd say probably right about the time I was graduating high school was when he completely got off the road and he focused 100% of his attention on his horses.
He was in the quarter horse business.
Yes.
Went to a lot of horse shows. And
Cutting horses.
things like that.
Yep.
Yeah. How about your mom? Did she tour much by herself? I don't remember her and Carl touring together an awful lot.
I don't ever recall my mother touring at all.
Really?
During my childhood. It was one of those things where Daddy went out and he did all the singing and the touring, and Mama stayed home and took care of the family.
Yeah.
So,
But she was a great singer, had a great style, made a lot of very successful records. How come you never really got into the music business?
well, I thought about it and listening to some of the stories here today, and it was funny that he never pushed us in that direction. Now, if we wanted to go, he said, "Fine, you go. I'll see you on the other side." And it was, so he always wanted to make sure that whatever we did it on our own, and that it was something that we truly wanted to do ourselves. So that's why me and my brothers and sisters are not in the business.
How many brothers and sisters are there?
Well, I have an older brother and an older sister, and then I have a half-sister, Carlene.
Mm-hmm. She's still out there picking and grinning, isn't
Yes,
she?
she is. She's still out there picking and grinning and trying to make a living at it. So.
Well, we miss both your parents. I know Jan Howard was very close. You were close to Carl and Goldie. Which one you think he looks more like?
Both.
Both?
Both.
But you're a woman. You're supposed to say Goldie.
Well, no, not really. I think he's more like Carl. He looks, his eyes, everything, and his talk, everything. He's just like Carl.
Take a vote. Everybody's going, yeah, looks more like Carl.
He's more handsome than he is pretty. Let's put it that way.
Well, okay. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'll pay you later.
You do sing a song every once in a while. How about doing one of your dad's big hits?
Well, I will try. I don't know how well I'll do it, but I'll try.
I know you'll do well. Dean Smith.
Okay, guys, you ready? Hey, Joe, now where'd you find that pretty girlie? Where'd you get that jolly dolly? How'd you rate that dish? I wish was mine. Hey, Joe, she's got skin as creamy dreamy, eyes that look so lovey-dovey, lips as red as cherry berry wine. Now listen, Joe, I ain't no heel, but oh, buddy, let me tell you how I feel. She's a honey, she's a sugar pie, and I'm warning you, I'm gonna try to steal her from you. Hey, Joe, though we've been the best of friends, this is where our friendship ends. I gotta have that
Dean. Thank you, buddy. All right, Dean Smith. I told Dean Smith he could go to the state of North Carolina and draw a crowd just on his name because of the legendary basketball coach named Dean Smith. They've even got a building named for you and him over there.
That is true, they do. But I don't play basketball. I can't even dribble.
I'm not going to touch that. Might end up slopping my dripper. Rich Jr., we need another song out of you. I want you to make your way over to the piano. While you're doing that, I want to mention Jim Ed Brown and the pink ribbon that you're wearing. I know you have a special reason for doing that, and I want you to share it with everybody.
I do have. Bill, my wife, has cancer, and she's right in the middle now of taking chemo, and I wear that for her and for all the other people, that have cancer too, but she's doing fine, so she says, but it's not, I think it's harder on me than it is on her.
Oh.
Because it's not easy for me to go through this. But she's the one that's having to take all the treatment and everything. But I love her very much, and I want her to be well, and I want everybody else with cancer, that has cancer, to be well also. But I wear this in memory.
Thank you.
Christy Woolley. You and Becky Brown, Jim Ed's wife, y'all are tennis playing buddies,
yeah,
right?
I got to know her from tennis. She's actually quite good, and she's in great shape. Mm-hmm. She's really athletic. She was a dancer for years, and so when she's on that tennis court, she moves like somebody that's like way younger than her age. I can tell you that. She's very, very good. So her good health will probably help her that much along and getting better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, when you play her in singles, who wins?
Well, we don't really play. There's a sea of tennis people and so we actually don't play on the same teams or anything. So we don't play against each other.
Oh, okay.
But we know each other respectfully from the tennis community.
She was my dance teacher and my sister's dance teacher.
She what?
She was our dance teacher, mine and Jenny's.
That's right. She sure was.
Love her to pieces.
Yeah,
Give
you want
her
to get up and
our
do
best.
a dance for us?
No, I do not. Would not be a blessing.
What a great
She was good, I
segue into
wasn't.
this song, talking about Becky Brown, Charlie Rich Jr. to sing The Most Beautiful Girl in the World.
There you go.
There you go.
Did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? And if you did, was she crying? Hey, if you happen to see the most beautiful girl that walked out on me, tell her I'm sorry. I need my baby. Oh, won't you tell her that I love her? I woke up this morning, realized what I had done. I stood alone in the cold gray dawn. I knew I'd lost my morning sun. I lost my head and I said some things. Now come the heartache that the morning brings. I know I'm wrong, but I couldn't see. I let my world slip away from me. So hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? And if you did, was she crying? Hey, if you happen to see the most beautiful girl walked out on me, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I need my baby. Oh, won't you tell her that I love her? If you happen to see the most beautiful